Good afternoon. Welcome to this live broadcast from Chatham House. P2B billed to speak at the Chatham House. This is the channel's live broadcast we are getting our live feeds from. Yes, today the presidential candidate of the Labour Party will be speaking. Is currently speaking at the Chatham House. The Chatham House is a famous house for Independent Policy Institute. It's a session whereby people and eminent persons come and speak about the policies of the government. Former Anambra State Governor will have the opportunity to share his vision and most likely how to articulate them to international investors, Africans and Nigerians in particular during this session. The Monday session will be his fourth public appearance in 7 days and the second in 3 days to engage the public in an open-air discussion about his plans for the country. Let's stay tuned as we listen to Peter B at the Chatham House. We are getting this our live feeds from Channels Television.
We will incentivize and invest in an agro cluster and industrial cluster development across our geo-resource zones to take advantage of agglomeration and scale effects of particularly in the northwest, northeast, and north central regions of Nigeria. We would dredge both River Niger and River Benue, build dams massively to support planting of economic trees across the country for local usage, poverty and elimination, export and revenue generation. The key task is to sequentially but decisively dismantle the inefficient and anti-market recessionary structures restraining the Nigerian economy from creating a precondition for a dynamic pro-market economy. We will employ entrepreneurial governance to dismantle impediments to free trade and ease of doing business, and implementing radical economic policies that will drastically reduce our debt service, a major drain to government revenue as it is today. Our micro, small and medium scale enterprises will be robustly supported. Further borrowing must be strictly for productive purposes and not for consumption. While we aggressively pursue the activation of all opportunities in oil and gas value chain, we will target incentive schemes that will be professionally administered to diversify our non-oil export portfolio with proper consideration and management of climate change risk and opportunities. The third pillar of our government priorities is to restructure the polity through effective legal and institutional reforms to entrench rule of law, aggressively fight corruption, reduce the cost of governance, and establish honest and efficient civil service. Reducing costs of governance in Nigeria is an effective way of fighting institutional corruption. In addition to reducing the cost of governance and streamlining government operations for efficiency and effectiveness, we will ensure that reforms we pursue will not in any way affect the livelihood of our hardworking and efficient civil servants. Critical to fighting corruption, we will install a new budgeting system founded on the cardinal principle of public accountability, objective setting, and program implementation. This is against the extant budgetary principles of revenue mobilization, expenditure allocation, borrowing without emphasis on monitoring, evaluation, and feedback. We will enforce principles of performance, auditing, institutionalized monitoring, and evaluation process of the entire public service delivery as the primary means of actualizing our vision of the new Nigeria. This reform will institutionalize our person involved both the president and the vice president in setting budgetary objectives of MDAs, and monitoring, evaluating the implementation process through Office of Regulatory Review in the Office of the President. Budget monitoring and evaluation capacity will be strengthened within the presidency. We will embark on effective micro and physical restructuring to quickly restore physical viability by discontinuing unaffordable subsidies which have left a black hole in government finances. Fiscal and monetary policy will be properly coordinated with each conventional tool transparently instead of distorting markets in favor of privileged few. For instance, an avoidance of doubt of Nigeria for a transparent liberalization of our foreign exchange market and dismantling of OPEC multiple exchange rates. Regime which effectively subsidies few privileged persons. We will seek to boost the supply side rather than continue to concentrate exclusively on demand management of foreign exchange. When unaffordable subsidies are removed, some carefully calibrated transfers will be used to cushion adverse effects on economically weak. If the competitiveness of the sector is to be enhanced, then we will do so via enactment of transparent and strategically target fiscal and trade policies designed to stimulate investment and growth. Revenue shortfalls and leakages such as oil theft will be dealt with decisively by holding persons in position of authority fully accountable. The fourth plank of our governance priorities is to leapfrog into the fourth industrial revolution through application of scientific technological innovation to create digital economy. Building on the gains of agriculture-led manufacturing and export, we will pursue development of knowledge and skills to leverage on the emerging disruptive digital technologies, automation, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, robotics, virtual reality, blockchain technology, biotechnology, and data science, all of which are the heart of the fourth industrial revolution. The fifth plank of our government priorities is to build expansive infrastructure for efficient power supply, rail, road and air transportation, and pipeline network through integrated public-private partnership and entrepreneurial public sector governance. Our solution to the perennial power problem in Nigeria is comprehensive and is well covered in our manifesto. We will ensure that we deal with the issue of transmission distribution. However, we will immediately complete the 2.3 billion Nigeria Siemens network improvement deal to achieve a of 1,000 megawatts by 2025 and 25,000 megawatts by 2025. We will support local manufacturing capacities and power technologies and encourage and expand local R&D in universities, training centers, and workshops, through which many jobs will be created. Our sixth priority program is to enhance human capital development of our youth for productivity and global competitiveness through investment in education, in research, quality health, and the broader education. The World Bank move Development Index ranks Nigeria 168 over 173. To move Nigeria right to the top bracket of the index, we will pursue a
As you well know, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party is currently speaking at the Chatham House. Chatham House is an independent policy institute and a trusted forum for debate and dialogue. Chatham House helps people, societies, and governments understand and adapt to seismic change, provided thought leadership on key issues that define the 20th century. President Muhammad Buhari attended the Chatham House. Bola also attended Chatham House, and all the eminent African leaders have been guests at the Chatham House. Today, Peter Obi speaks at the Chatham House and will be speaking on institutional reforms, and he's presenting his Labour Party manifesto and some of the things that we got at that report, that House press review. We got some notes. Revenue shortfalls will be dealt decisively by holding corporates accountable, building expansive infrastructure for efficient power supply, and also they will complete the Siemens project. Let's continue on the live feed from Channels Television. Okay, we are having some network issues. Let's have this conversation. What will you take from the current live program, the live press program on Chatham House? What would you take on the current? And this is also his fourth public appearance in 7 days, and the second in 3 days to engage the public in an open air discussion. Let's get conversations going on until we get back that video online. We have 34 people watching. Yes, Peter Obi, Chatham House. Emma Choice, he says yes, Mr. President Peter Obi. Sanford and Sons Reloaded says Peter Obi at the Chatham House. Let's have this conversation. Let's keep the conversation going on. What is your take on that Chatham House press conference by Peter Obi? However, the last time we had the presidential candidate of the APC at the Chatham House, and there was something said about that press conference. He read from also the president
to ensure the radical come to light in the presidential election. So that's one question. Just hold that there. And I'm going to go right to the back of the room, right at the corner there. The gentleman right in the corner. Yes. So, yes, you. Please go ahead. Introduce yourself and one question, please. Thank you.
All right, thank you. My name is Ajiboye Tumishi from Huddersfield University. So my question is simple. The activities of the hip-hop in Nigeria is on alarming rate every day. And with all the policy, beautiful ideas that you've listed down, sir, without tackling security head on, they are impossible. So one of the allegations given to you is that you've not condemned the activities of the hip-hop. So, and the tackling of security.
Can you sum up, please?
Plan. Tackling of security.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's...
Sorry, I'm a student. We are to line. Tackling of security, how will you tackle it, sir? Are you introducing...
Please.
Are you introducing state police? Or are you threatening the federal government security apparatus? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have another question that has come in, which I want to ask from our virtual audience, and it's from Vivian Afekwezu, who's asking the following. Vivian is asking, for many years, Nigeria has underinvested in healthcare. What are your plans for achieving universal health coverage, where access to healthcare is a right rather than a privilege, as well as ensuring sustained funding for epidemic preparedness and response? We did have a similar question for Mr. Tinubu in the last session that we did. So there are 3 questions there for you, Peter, and then I'll come through the audience here. Please just be patient.
First question is, how do you deal with the legislators, considering that Labour Party is probably not in control of the legislative arm of the government? Quite frankly, I have been through this as the governor. When I was elected and sworn in as the governor, I have 30 House members, not from my party. In fact, nobody from my party was involved. As long as you are pursuing what is right, everybody will go with you, because the legislator is insecure in his place. He knows that his people are without job, and that's what he wants. He wants development. What else is he elected to do? It becomes a problem when you are pursuing transactional policies, which will benefit you, or you're engaging in nepotism where you have to. But if you address it by strictly following the Constitution, which spells out that the system is characterized by simply that we have diversity and all is included, and you did the right things, you don't need to worry about that. The issue of IPOB, maybe you're not following me. Even yesterday, I spoke about Biafra being ended 53 years ago. It's all over the place in the space. I condemn all agitators, but in condemning them, you have to look at what about these agitations all over the place. It's not only IPOB. We have Yoruba Nation movement. We have all sorts. When you have created this level of massive poverty, where 63% of your population is poor, you're going to create all sorts of problems. I was speaking to a British minister this morning. He said we have about 40% unemployment. And we have about 60% youth unemployment. Young people in their productive age doing nothing. If you have 15% unemployment in Britain today, you're going to have massive, remember, agitation. Nobody will be able to leave his house. So what we have seen is the cumulative effect of leadership failure over the years, which will be solved by good governance. When people start seeing justice, fairness, and inclusive government and doing the right thing, all those things will start reversing itself. And that is what me and that is offering. I will talk and discuss with all agitators. There's nothing wrong in that. People agitate even in my house, and I talk with them. So I'll deal with everybody. I'll show you of that. Don't worry about that. On the issue of health, yes, we have a problem with health. We have underinvested, and because our government have not prioritized our development agenda, everybody knows that the only measure of development as recognized globally today is Human Development Index. And this is hanged on 3 items: life expectancy, which is health. And we are low in that. Nigerian life expectancy today is about 50 something, as against the global average of 72. So we're low. Same in education. So it's to prioritize that. I just gave somebody an example. In the past 5 years, from 2015 to 2021, Nigerian budget in health is under 2.5 trillion for 200 million people. It's unacceptable. This year, our budget for health is about 1.5 trillion. Our budget for education is about 2 trillion. Two of them combined, annual budget is about 3.5 trillion. When your 6-month budget for subsidy, which is a criminalized, listen, is 3.6 trillion. It's unacceptable. You have to put money in key development areas, as Professor Dempsey had just mentioned, and I read out here, that what separates country, rich and poor, is health and education. So it's clear. So we will deal with it. But he said, how do you cover it? Nations of our size have covered it. How did India, for 1.4 billion people, cover issue of health? How did Indonesia cover that? We have big nations that have done it well. People who don't know how to do, we learn from them. There's nothing wrong in learning if you don't know how to do it.
I'm going to take more questions. Now, there is someone who has such a strong arm. Their arm has been up for 15 minutes. Now, I'm not going to say that's criteria for taking question next time. But, madam, you get the question. You have the strongest arm in the audience. Please introduce yourself. One question.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon and welcome, sir. My name is Priscilla Winkwo, and I'm an independent broadcaster here in London. And sir, you spoke about your point number 5, which is to generate electricity and power in Nigeria. And you spoke about transmission, distribution, and generation. But I think it's fair to say that our problems with power goes beyond those 3 areas. And the main problem that I see here is this. We have a population or part of the economy, shall we say, those who supply spare parts, the engineers, those who work within that sector, whether it's those that are selling generators. And we know that that issue is perhaps the biggest issue when it comes to our power generation. So my question here is this. How do you plan, number 1, and I'm going to take a risk here, to deal with the big boys, and how do you also plan to address that economy that will then no longer exist because you have generated power? Because I'm sure that they too will rise up against it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We did online have lots of questions about refining also. And so this is a key issue that people are asking question about. So the gentleman there, a bit further along. Yes, there, you, just there, yeah. Please go ahead, introduce yourself.
Thank you very much.
Question. Good
to see you, Peter. Paul Arkwright, I was the British High Commissioner to Nigeria from 2015 to 2018. And it's good to see you in London, sir. Thank you very much for your talk. I've now moved into private business. I'm a consultant. and I'm advising companies and funds, investors to look at Africa, to look at Nigeria, to consider investing there. And everyone agrees, I think, that FDI, foreign direct investment, is critical to the future of Nigeria. But at the moment, they're very cautious, and that's putting it diplomatically. When you become president, sir, could you tell me the sort of 3 things you would do in the first, let's say, 100 days, which would send a right signal to foreign investors to look again at Nigeria, not just look again at Nigeria, but to invest in Nigeria? Because as you know, I'm one of Nigeria's strongest supporters, and I think this is a country which is worth investing in. Thank you.
Thanks. And I will come back to this side. The gentleman just there. You, sir? Just there. No. Behind, sorry. You're the lucky one. One question, short, please. Give your name.
Good evening. It's William Owomayi, the UK Young Ambassador to the Commonwealth and a member of Chatham House. You've caught Nigerian by storm in recent months with your campaign and your vision to unify Nigeria, mobilizing young people all across the country. You mentioned debt a few times in your speech. Currently, the government is repaying debt to the central bank at an interest rate of 19.5%, which is extremely high. How do you plan to support the next generation?
The government is
repaying the central bank debt by 19.5% interest rate. How do you plan to support the next generation by dealing with the debt repayment crisis? And also, how do you plan to deal with tackling financial transparency in Nigeria? The central bank hasn't released its balance sheet in about 3 years.
Thank you. There you go, Peter. 3 questions.
Let me start with my sister there. He talked about the big, what you're saying is about the big boys who are selling generators. Let me assure you what we've been campaigning on. Our campaign, you have heard them say we don't have structures. That is the structure we're trying to destroy. Structure of criminality. That is what I mentioned. Now Nigeria is being held captive. That structure is structure that impoverished Nigeria. We will dismantle it. It will not be there. I assure you of that. We're going to turn around the power sector. Nigeria generates about, today, 56,000 megawatts of electricity for 200 million people. And South Africa, the second biggest in terms of economy in the continent, 5 to 6,000, that's been 5 to 6,000. So, South Africa, the second biggest economy, 60 million people, generates about 40 to 50,000. And South Africa, in the past 3 months, has declared emergency in power and said anybody can generate up to 100 megawatts without license. So somebody who is 60 million, generating about over 40,000, declared emergency. What do you think somebody with 2 million people generating 5 to 6,000 will do? War. I'm going to declare war on power, and I'll solve it. Anybody who stands on the way, so be it. Bringing back foreign investor is very simple. Foreign investor is like bee and honey. What you need is to create honey. The way bee will find the place is very simple. Foreign capital is scared of corruption, is scared of bad policies, is scared of where there's no rule of law. You need to put a regulatory environment that makes it conducive. You need to secure it. That is at the heart of what Dati and I are offering. We will build that intangible assets of securing the country, making sure that we govern through rule of law. We will fight corruption. that they have a record that is the only National Assembly member who refused to buy property of record that is the only National Assembly member who refused to buy property of
Is it from your side or there? As we get back live due to network issues, we'll be looking at some of the reactions of our viewers on our channel. We have Hybrid saying that my question is why is Peter B in London? Why shouldn't he be taking questions for Nigerians in Nigeria? It is weird seeing a British man asking a Nigerian presidential candidate in England. Let's get your reactions to that Chatham House press briefing. Like we said, Chatham House, we have had many influential politicians and Nigerians that have attended the Chatham House briefing. It talks about policy formation and also a forum for debate and dialogue. There's some questions that have been asked the presidential candidate of the Labour Party P2B. He was asked about the activities of the IPOB and that he has not condemned the activities of the group. What will he do when he becomes president? He said poverty the root cause of agitation, and also if you fix poverty you're going to fix the agitation. Now another question: for many years Nigeria has underinvested in health, and what is his plan for a universal health insurance plan? He also said that we need to create more budget for health insurance in the country. Now on power generation, interesting. Someone asked, how do you plan to deal with the big boys? That means those who are importers who deal in generators in Nigeria. If you are going to look at eradicating electricity outage and also the collapse of the national grid, how do you plan to deal with the big boys? Now the big boys here represented are those who deal with Lister and generators. Instead, he said that he and Ahmed Dati running a joint ticket would eradicate such impasse on the economy, that anyone who comes on their way will be dealt with. Nigeria currently generates 5,000 from 5 to 6,000 megawatts. He compared that with South Africa, who has 40,000 megawatt. That it is a colossal damage to the economy when you don't have power generation. And also a former British High Commissioner asked the question, first 100 days as president, what will you do to invest in the country? Again, because foreign investors would consider some factors before investing in any country. We look at insecurity, we look at the economy, and we look at the GDP ratio. And he also looked at answering that question. A student and also a member of the Chatham House asked another question about our debt. We are paying 19.5% on our debt, repaying the CBN debt over 19.5%. That means we are going to borrow 100,000 naira, 19.5% of 100,000 naira is 19,000 naira. So, looking at such percentage, how does the Labour Party presidential candidate hope to fix the Nigeria debt crisis, repaying the debt that this current administration and other administration has borrowed from the CBN? Let's continue with our live broadcast. We'll come back for more engagement.
And for ensuring sustainability in the new government. So that's one question. And there was a joint question from Ms. Etty and Zindi Anthony Levy, and they're asking, insecurity is a major problem. What are your plans in tackling it? What are your plans in terms of security sector reform in Nigeria? I'm going to take two more physical questions in the room. The lady right in the front here, so I'm not going to discriminate with the front rows. Please, go ahead.
My name is Chi Kwendo. I'm a practicing solicitor here at Advocate Conference for Rule of Law. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for inspiring this position on your vision for policy change and institutional reforms. It seems to me that it's clear from that if and when elected president, your transformation vision to increase the production capabilities across the various sectors mentioned, including agriculture, extraction industries, human resources, will, to a large extent, hinge on the depth of your level of commitment with Sadati and ownership to implement the proposed policy changes and institutional reforms. However, there is no doubt in my mind that Your Excellency is well aware of the prevailing fundamental challenges to those reforms, including clientele patronage, political capture, and the institutionalized corruption that you mentioned. So the question is, how do you intend to navigate these challenges differently from the efforts of previous administrations, particularly with a view to modifying the behaviors of the key players in support of achieving those anticipated outcomes? And I was very warmed when you mentioned you're broadening the scope of youth inclusion and women based on gender issues. So further, how do you intend to quell the current ethnic tensions ravaging our communities and consequently stagnating economic growth and development, and to implement a pragmatic mechanism for dealing with those societal concerns for equal...
Please. We need... The longer this takes, the less questions. Madam, please, now.
So the question there is, how do you intend to implement a pragmatic mechanism for dealing with those societal concerns for equal access to the services, inclusive participation, and integrating the various ethnic groups?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Peter, if you answer those questions, because that was more than one question.
Well, let me start with the issue of, you have, like you said, you have more than one question. I have about two questions. Let me start with the issue of ethnic tension. The ethnic tension you see today is based and as a result of injustice, unfairness, exclusion, marginalization. As you start reversing that, you start going down. That is what I said to the young man about agitation. As long as you start doing the right things, so that you start building an inclusive society where people's talent, hard work will match up their opportunity, you start seeing those things go down. There's tension, even in the Western world. It's here when the blacks feel exploited. But as the more the government opens up and tolerates and builds an inclusive, transparent, more broad-based, acceptable, they will come back. So we will show, I've said before, we will show compassion. We will show love. Because it's not you're a leader. Don't go away when Basa is under the water. Don't leave Jigawa to die. Don't say, oh, I cannot go to Southern Kaduna because of the problem. No, we will show compassion. We will lead from the front. We're not going to walk away. And for me, Borno is part of Nigeria. I don't want to say people, oh, The ruin is insecure. Nigeria is insecure. Like I told the IDP people in Christmas, as the IDP people in Makurdi in Christmas. And the New Year was another IDP camp in Abuja. And I said to them, as long as Nigerians are in IDP, all of us are in IDP. I will not allow, and I know that you will not allow it, for any Nigerian to remain in IDP while we're sleeping in our mansions. Never. They must go back. On issue of challenges and dealing with the challenges you foresee, I've dealt with such challenges at the Anambra level. And I'll show you the same challenges. We're not going to, as long as you're not involved in this transnational governance, you can deal with anybody. We're not going to compromise. We have an issue. I said we're at an existential threat that we don't need to. There's nobody, there's no sacred cow. You either be a Nigerian or you can find another country.
Okay, we have some comments on our channel. Please, you can comment and like the program. This is update from Chatham House. Peter B, Presidential Labour Party in Chatham House, and he's quite out his policies if he becomes the president. We have Emma Choi says yes, Mr. President Peter B. Sanford and Sons says nice man. Haburi, I read your comment. Also, another comment from Haburi: these Nigerians in the diaspora cannot even vote for now. The setup is a complete joke. Delight says our incoming president. Simon Haywood says my main man Peter B. We have Onyeji Harrison says man on fire. Let's still continue with the live broadcast now from Arise TV. Thank you.
Kilometers. 76.3 thousand kilometers. 7 local governments in that state is under control of bandits. I've tried to interview them because they have no job. They have nothing and everything. And agricultural export last year was $120 billion. They have a revenue line. And all they get from the revenue for sharing, which is the consumption, is at 50 5% of that is $6 billion. At 650 is about 4 trillion. 80 times what they get from here. We will change it. Somebody talked about tackling insecurity. It is our first commitment to fast security. And it will be those when it will be carrot and stick. And those who want will deal with them. We're not going to shy away. Nigeria must be secure. It's a country. Every country must be secure. We're not going to walk away from it. Deal with it. We have our armies and to secure Africa. So it's time to go back. And I didn't mention the issue of things like planting trees, of flood in Nigeria because of not direction, and I said it consistently. God, what they contract for it in the past. Every Niger and River Benue combined introduced it.
We're on borrowed time now, but we're going over, as I said. There's right at the front here, there's a gentleman there. I'm going to take 3 questions, and I think the clock is going to have had its say. Short and sharp, please. Go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Alexis Akwajiran. I'm the managing editor of For Africa. My question is, if you become the next president, would you seek to keep the current central bank governor or replace him? And please explain your answer.
Please. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, and thank you for your remarks. My name is Chibuikem Ugongadi. I'm his master's student at King's College London, and it's funny, actually, my question is related to him. Given the debacle at the central bank currently and their conduct over the past 8 years, what is your view on central bank independence as a tool to improve economic growth? And how will you what will you do about the leadership at the central bank when you become president in order to make sure that their principles are in line with yours on monetary policy?
Thank you very much. The lady over there. Yes, madam, you. Yes, but sharp, please. There's a microphone just here. It's next to you. Just there, please. Aha.
Okay, Your Excellency, good afternoon. So my question here is this: you talked about restructuring. As you're aware, Nigeria can barely service its external debt. Nigeria can barely service its external debt. Our current external debt, we cannot service it, or we're finding it difficult to service it. Now, when you become president, how do you intend to restructure our external debt without actually downgrading our rating in the market? Thank you.
Thank you. And your name, just so we have it?
My name is Ifeyinwa Umunakwe.
Okay, thank you. And then if we move the microphone to the lady just there. Last question. Yes.
Good afternoon. Nice to see you again, Mr. Obi. My name is Kenneth Chukwuwabo. I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Cambridge. I study public-private partnerships in education. I read your manifesto, and it seems PPPs are taking a central stage in education sector. So I wanted to ask, what is your rationale for involving private actors in public education, and what governance structures would you put in place to ensure the accountability of these actors in a sensitive sector such as education? Thank you.
Thank you very much. My apologies. We've run out of time now. I'm watching the clock.
Okay. Alex, I hope you will allow me. There's somebody here that is so keen. When I was coming in, he had a question that is so interested, and it's like, so I told him, if I have opportunity, I will request and answer it publicly. Okay. Let me again go. People are talking about the central bank governor. The problem, first, let me assure you, central bank will maintain its independence. It will be respected. And again, it is not the problem of the person there. Central bank have a role of monetary policy, if I'm right. Then you have this physical space. It's like a sea football. When the person who is supposed to be in the physical space is no longer, it's like you go to a football match and somebody who is supposed to play in a particular wing is no longer there. You find people playing various wings. The weakness of the physical space allows the monetary space to take over and is supporting because there's a weak governance structure. That is why we're able to do what we're doing. What is happening today is happening. So if you're replacing Godwin and putting somebody with that level of physical rascality, which is what is fueling our inflation and even our rate of exchange today, these are some of the things you need to cut. As long as the government continues on that fiscal rascality, that situation will occur. That's what you need to fix. I won't say what will happen. Instead, it's actually coming to an end. So it won't be too long. So that's that. I assure you that we'll deal with that. You asked about PPP in education. I said in Cambridge. Is Cambridge run by British government? Now, I just want to know, because I don't know. When we're talking about PPP in education, we're talking about tertiary education. We're not talking about basic education. We will ensure that basic education is free and we will drive it aggressive because we have 20 million out of school children in the north, which I've said we will deal with decisively because those children mostly have learned Quran, which means they're intelligent. We will meet them at the point of learning Quran and teach them skill. For the tertiary education, we must find a way to fund it in a collaborative way, public partnership, in order to be able to ensure that 4 years will be 4 years, not what is happening today. That's what we mean by that. And it will be, you'll see, it's a win-win situation. That's it. No, not the basic. It won't be the basic. Then, issue of barely servicing our debts. We're not, I've said it before, we're not the only country that have gone through this. Once we move from consumption to production, what we're going to do first is that what you see today, we inability to service our debts, is because of fiscal rascality. You're paying unsustainable subsidy, which will be stopped from day one, because it's criminal thing. You're no longer generating money because they're stealing the oil. And the only people who can steal oil are people in government, because ordinary people cannot steal oil. You can't put it in your pocket. It's something that you come with sheep. So all those, and you stop corruption, the waste, everything. And you go to seek to ensure that the revenues of government are properly collected. These are things, when you have tightened all the leakages and waste, you'll be able to increase your position and you negotiate and be able to service them. Look at it, just to give you an example. Nigeria is today the only OPEC nation, apart from Venezuela, because of fashion, that is not meeting up its quota. Because over the years of oil theft, the multinationals and everything have not been investing, coupled with the theft and everything. You're not realizing what you're supposed to. Every other nation that is in the same condition was able to bring down their rates and inflation within this period of Ukraine war. I'm not saying it's good to wait for war to be able to get more revenue, but people are taking advantage of it, because it's there. And you can't run away from it. But we couldn't take that advantage. Our situation got worse because of poor management of our own physical space, which will change with that and I. And finally, like I said, somebody kept telling me that issue that people have been saying that if I become president, that there's issue of being, how do I say, what word do they use? Stingy. Pass you the question of stingy. How are you going to manage? Because they said you'll be stingy and everything. And let me say it publicly that people don't know what it is all about. At the heart of poverty is capital formation. And you can't go about capital formation without savings. Even in the most developed world, which is why I said that Japan holds highest amount of US treasury. If you listen or you go and read about what Professor Ragnar Musk done in the 50s, it showed it clearly. Capital formation is at heart of poverty.
Yeah, we are having this conversation. Some of the things he said at the Chatham House. We know that Chatham House is an independent policy institute and a trusted forum for debate and dialogue. President Muhammad Buhari was there. Bola Ahmed Tinubu also attended. We have Nelson Mandela of South Africa attended the Chatham House, and now we have Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi. Like you heard the information, the chairman INEC, Independent National Electoral Commission, will be at the Chatham House tomorrow by 1 p.m. And also the presidential candidate of the NNPP, Rabi Kwankwaso, the Nigerian National the party NNPC will be at the Chatham House tomorrow by 1 p.m. Also coupled with that of the INEC. Some questions he was being asked. Was asked about the IPOB and how he's going to tackle the independent people of Biafra. You know, agitations in the southeast, and since that he is an Igbo man, there are these sentiments that he would deal lightly with the independent people of Biafra, that is the IPOB, because the sentiments of being an Igbo man. He answered the question. He said poverty has necessitated agitations. He said from the IPOB we had the Yoruba Nation agitation and other agitations in the country. If we have over 20 million people in the north not having education, out of school children 20 million, and we're having 40% unemployment rate, it is a disaster, and you're expecting some of these occurrences of agitation in the country. He also cited an example that if the United Kingdom has 50% unemployment rate, that will be a very big problem, that there will be chaos everywhere. Also, it was also asked about, he said for many years Nigeria has underinvested in health coverage. He said what is his plan for universal health insurance for the country? Universal health insurance, looking at how an average Nigerian can have access to a health insurance plan. That is very important. Most of our leaders, they go out of the country to get their treatment while leaving the health sector in debacles. The president's wife, Aisha Buhari, once complained about not having enough medical equipment and appliances in the national health, the national hospital in Aso Rock. He also there was a question on power generation. Say, how do you plan to deal with the big boys and economy of generator dealers that we no longer exist? If you look at fixing electricity in Nigeria, you're also going to phase out the business, the generator business. And he says, how do you plan to deal with the big boys? He said he answered that question. Also, a former British High Commissioner said it talks about investing in the country, particularly about investing in Nigeria. When we have insecurity, foreign investors might not want to, they'll be skeptical about investing in Nigeria. And he answered the question. He says that when you deal with insecurity, investment will flow. Yes, another question on insecurity. What are your plans in tackling the menace? How do you intend to quell the current ethnic tensions? How do you intend to implement a pragmatic mechanism to deal with the issues? These are some of the questions he was being asked at the House. Let's get this conversation. Who is responding to this review, this press conference at the Chatham House? Let's get, we have many persons watching, and let's get you conversing with us. Yes, we still have Chem Obunike, and we have many others. So far, there is a view. You have that view outside the Chatham House. I sent the link. Please, let's look at that video. A view outside the Chatham House. Many persons are outside that house congratulating, and so many are saying our incoming president. Many are saying Peter Obi. Earlier, Aisha Isfu had to warn supporters of the obedient movement that whatever plan by the opposition parties to provoke them, that they should not react or respond to that. Last time Tinubu visited Chatham House, we had Reno Mokri, I think a PDP loyalist. He came and he started shouting and also trying to cause confusion and commotion. But with this time, we didn't have it at the Chatham House. Yes, let's take a look. There's another link I sent. Look at this wall. There's another link I sent. Let's look at that video. Okay, I'm getting more responses. Please like the program. Like the program today. Also was asked one very important thing he spoke about. It is the agitation. He said that he was going to dialogue with agitators, not only IPOB, but also the Nigerian and
my chair is here too.
Splinter groups.
As usual, this is the almighty national chairman of Labour Party.
Justice system. He said there was
Yes.
that is being
London Chatham House, here we come.
We had the IPOB leader, Nnamdi Kanu. The court gave a judgment, the verdict that he should be released. But the federal government was adamant in obeying the judgment. Sorry, many have said that this government is known for disobeying court orders. So he said that according through the rule of law, is going to handle agitation. And however, when you look at it, when you disobey the rule of law, it is going to fall much more agitation. So that he spoke about the agitation. And he also said stingy. We know the give shishi, that is the P2B movement. We know the give shishi. He also talked about, many people have said that saving for tomorrow while Nigerians are hungry will not be a good idea. Now, when you cut the cost of governance, let me quote what he said. When you cut the cost of governance, it's going to be important for you to know that Nigeria has a lot of money. And if you are doing a business, you have capital for tomorrow, it's going to secure that business. That business is going to live beyond you. I'm not seeing anybody responding. So let's have this conversation because very soon we are going to be coming to the end of this update. What is your take on this Chatham House press conference by P2B? We are having the INEC chairman, very important, is going to come. Is going to be live at the Chatham House tomorrow. We are having the NNPP presidential candidate, Rabi Kwankwaso. He's going to be at the Chatham House tomorrow. Yeah, we have the INEC has said that all beavers ready, dispatched to various polling units in the country, and the election is ready on course. Then 25th of February will be the date for the election. Looking at this Chatham House, we are having Atiku yet to attend the Chatham House. We had the three major candidates. We have had Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We have also had the P2B, and we're expecting Rabi Kwankwaso. So let's probably in a few days' time we'll be having the PDP presidential candidate as Atiku Abubakar. What do you think the difference between this and that of Bola Ahmed Tinubu? We had the delegation of questions asked the presidential candidate, but here he answered all the questions he needed to answer. There was no sort of delegation, and I saw very, very young people and young Nigerians eager to know how the country is going to be fixed. Now I got one thing is that many people are very much interested in fixing the country. Have you gotten that video outside Chatham House? Do you have the video? Can I get a response? So let's get a feel of how it all went outside the courthouse. Let's see that video. It is not about Emefiele, it's about the system that is being run, and also the rascality of the executive, that is the presidency. We have learned that over 21 trillion, around